The metal piece burned hot in the desert sand. Dr. Alan Curtis knelt beside it, sweat running down his face in the Arizona heat. He pulled on thick gloves and carefully picked up the strange object. It wasn't like any metal he had seen before. Parts of it seemed alive, with tiny structures that moved even though they were broken. "Be careful with that, Doctor," said the soldier standing guard nearby. "We don't know what it is." Alan nodded but didn't look up. As one of the top scientists studying alien life possibilities, he had waited his whole career for this moment. "This isn't from Earth," he said quietly. "Look at these cell-like structures. They're organic but merged with the metal." Across the crash site, other scientists collected more pieces. The strange metal had fallen from the sky last night. And not just here. Reports came in from all over the world: China, Russia, Brazil, South Africa, all within hours of each other. "Dr. Curtis, you have a call," a young assistant said, holding out a phone. "It's General Peters. He says it's urgent." Alan took the phone, still staring at the strange metal. "Curtis here. Doctor, we need you at the base right now," General Peters said, his voice tight with stress. "Something big just entered Earth's orbit. Multiple somethings, actually. We're scrambling everything we've got." Alan looked up at the clear blue sky. "Are they related to these crash pieces?" "Probably. Scouts, maybe. Just get here now." Lieutenant Olivia Reeves checked her ship's systems one more time. The USF Vanguard hummed around her, ready for action. As one of the Space Fleet's best pilots, she had been chosen to lead this mission. Her orders were simple: approach the unknown object in orbit and gather information. "All systems green, Lieutenant," said her co-pilot, Sam Gordon. "Ready when you are." "All crew, prepare for departure," Olivia said into her headset. "This is not a drill. We don't know what we're dealing with, so stay sharp." The Vanguard detached from the space station and moved toward the coordinates. The row object hadn't done anything threatening yet. It just sat there, a massive dark shape against the stars, 10 times bigger than their largest space vessel. "Getting visual now," Sam said, putting the image on the main screen. The ship was unlike anything they had seen before. It looked partly grown rather than built, with strange curves and surfaces that seemed to pulse slightly. "Send all data back." "To command," Olivia ordered. "Let's get closer, but keep our distance. Weapons hot, just in case." They moved carefully toward the alien vessel. Olivia felt sweat on her palms despite the ship's cool air. "Lieutenant, I'm picking up energy readings," said the sensor officer. "There!" A bright flash lit up the bridge. The Vanguard shook violently. "We're hit!" Sam shouted. "Shields at 40%. "Evasive action," Olivia commanded, grabbing the controls. "Return fire!" But before they could react, another blast hit them. And another. The alien ship released smaller vessels that swarmed toward Earth. "Send the warning. We're under attack," Olivia yelled as she fought to control the damaged ship. "Tell Earth they're coming." The first attacks hit major cities without warning. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, all struck at the same time. The alien ships fired weapons that cut through buildings like they were paper. They targeted military bases, power plants, and communication centers first. In his apartment in Washington, D.C., Alan woke to the sound of explosions. His phone rang. It was General Peters again. "Get to the underground facility now," the general ordered. "Bring everything you've collected from the crash site. A car is already on its way to you." Alan rushed to gather his research and samples. From his window, he saw fires spreading across the city. Strange ships with glowing weapons flew between buildings, firing at anything that moved. A military car screeched to a stop outside his building. Alan ran down with his bag of samples and research notes. The driver barely waited for him to close the door before speeding off. "What are they?" Alan asked as they swerved to avoid burning cars. "We don't know yet," the soldier said. "They hit everywhere at once, no warning, no communication attempts, they just started shooting." A blast hit the road ahead of them. The car skidded and nearly flipped over. 3 alien ships appeared above them, weapons glowing. "Run," the driver shouted, pulling out a gun. "I'll hold them off. Get to the facility with those samples." Alan grabbed his bag and ran as the soldier fired at the ships. He heard screams behind him but didn't look back. He ducked into an underground train station where people huddled in fear. The whole world is under attack, a woman said, showing him her phone. The news showed the same scenes in cities everywhere. The aliens, the news was calling them the Krajan based on a message intercepted from their ships, were destroying everything. Alan clutched his bag tighter. The strange samples inside might be humanity's only hope of understanding their enemy. 3 days later, half of Earth's military forces were destroyed. The Krajan controlled most major cities. Those who survived the initial attacks fled to rural areas or went underground. In a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Alan worked without sleep, studying the alien samples. General Peters and what remained of the world's military leaders watched him. They're like nothing we've seen before, Alan explained, pointing to a screen showing the alien cells. Part organic, part machine. They share a hive mind, each one connected to the others. They can adapt quickly to new environments. How do we fight them? A military leader asked. Alan shook his head. I don't know yet. But there's something strange about how they interact with our biology. They seem almost afraid of some aspects of human cells. I need more time. A soldier burst into the room. Sir, we lost contact with the Vanguard, but we just received a partial transmission from Lieutenant Reeves. She's alive. Her ship was damaged but managed to destroy one of the smaller alien vessels. She's gathered survivors and is trying to reach our position. For the first time in days, a glimmer of hope appeared in the room. If she destroyed one, we can destroy others, General Peters said. Doctor, you have 1 week to find their weakness. The human race is counting on you. Alan looked down at the alien samples. Somewhere in these strange cells was the key to saving Earth. He had to find it before it was too late. Outside, the Krajan continued their attack, turning Earth into a living hell. But they didn't know that in underground labs and hidden bases, humanity was preparing to release something far worse than anything the aliens could imagine. 3 months passed since the Krajan first attacked Earth. The ruins of Chicago stood quiet under a gray sky. Once tall buildings now lay broken like fallen giants. Smoke still rose from some parts of the city. The aliens had set up large metal structures in the center of town. These processing centers, as people called them, hummed day and night. No one knew exactly what happened inside, but people who went in never came out. John Mercer moved silently through the empty streets. Before the invasion, he built buildings. Now he destroyed them, or at least the ones the aliens used. He led a small group of survivors who fought back any way they could. Eagle to nest, John whispered into his radio. I'm near the target. No patrols in sight. Copy that, Eagle, a voice crackled back. Team 2 is in position. Wait for the signal. John ducked behind a burned car and checked his homemade bomb. It wasn't much, just some fuel and nails in a metal can, but it would create a distraction. His real goal tonight wasn't to hurt the aliens. It was to save people. His radio beeped twice. The signal. John lit the fuse on his bomb and threw it toward an empty Krajan supply vehicle. He ran to a new hiding spot as the explosion rocked the street. Alien soldiers, tall, gray creatures with too many joints in their arms, rushed toward the fire. Now, John said into his radio. On the other side of the processing center, more explosions went off. The alien guards split up, confused by attacks, from 2 directions. This was their chance. John ran to a side door of the center. His friend Donna was already there, working on the lock with tools she'd found in an old hardware store. Hurry, John said, keeping watch. Almost got it, Donna replied. The lock clicked and the door swung open. We have 5 minutes before they realized this was just a distraction. They slipped inside the processing center. The air smelled strange, like metal and something rotting. They followed the plan, turning, left down a long hallway. The walls pulsed with a faint blue light. It was like being inside something alive. The holding cells should be down here, John whispered. They found a room with clear walls. Inside, about 20 people sat or lay on metal tables. Some had strange devices attached to their heads. None of them moved when John and Donna appeared. How do we open it? Donna asked, touching the smooth wall. There was no door they could see. John studied the wall, then noticed a panel with alien Symbols. Maybe this? He pressed symbols at random until the wall slid open with a soft hiss. The people inside still didn't move. "Hey," John said softly, approaching a woman with short brown hair. "We're here to help. Can you walk?" The woman blinked slowly, like she was waking from a deep sleep. They did something to us," she said, her voice rough. "Tests. Put things in our heads." "What's your name?" Donna asked, helping another person stand. "Kate. Catherine Monroe." "Well, Kate, if you can move, we need to go now," John said. Some of the captives could walk, but others seemed too weak. John and his team had only planned to rescue a few people, not 20. He made a quick decision. "Donna, take the ones who can walk. I'll create another distraction and come back for the others with more help." "That's not the plan," Donna argued. "Plans change," John said. He looked at Kate. "Can you help her?" Kate nodded, seeming more alert than the others. "I worked on weapon systems before the invasion. I can help fight if you get me out of here." "Good. Go with Donna. I'll be right behind." "You." John watched them leave, then set up his last bomb near some important-looking alien equipment. As he worked, he noticed strange containers lining the walls. Inside each one, a human floated in clear liquid, with tubes connected to their bodies. John felt sick. What were the aliens doing to these people? He had no time to think about it. He set the timer for 2 minutes and ran back to the holding cells. Most of the remaining captives still couldn't move. He picked up the smallest person, a teenage boy, and looked at the others. "I'll come back with help, I promise." As John carried the boy out, the bomb exploded. Alarms wailed through the building. They barely made it to the meeting point 2 blocks away, where Donna waited with the others. "We need to move," she said. "The whole area will be crawling with them soon." They led the rescued people through secret paths in the ruins, avoiding alien patrols. Their hideout was in an old subway tunnel, blocked from alien scanners by thick concrete and metal. When they arrived, other resistance members helped the rescued people. A doctor checked them while John explained what happened to Paul, their group leader. 20 people? Paul asked, surprised. "We can barely feed the ones we have." "We couldn't leave them," John said. Kate approached them. She looked stronger already. "I can earn my keep," she said. "Before all this, I worked on military technology, weapons, communications. I might be able to help you fight back." Paul studied her. "What exactly did you work on?" "A system to disrupt enemy communications," Kate said. "If the aliens use any kind of signals to coordinate their attacks, I might be able to block them, at least temporarily." For the first time in weeks, John felt real hope. That could give us a chance to hit them and get away before reinforcements come. "It's worth a try," Paul agreed, "but we'll need equipment." "I can help with that too," Kate said. "I know what we need and where to find it." Later, as the others slept, John sat cleaning his weapons. Kate joined him, looking better after food and rest. "Thank you," she said, "for saving us." John nodded. "What were they doing to you in there?" Kate touched the back of her neck where a small wound was healing. "They put something in us, some kind of device. I think they're studying us, learning how we think, but they're also changing people somehow." "For what?" John asked. "I don't know. But in the lab section, I saw maps of more cities. They're expanding, setting up more processing centers. Whatever they're planning, it's only the beginning." John looked at his makeshift weapons. They seemed so small against the alien threat. But now they had Kate. Maybe her knowledge could help them. And somewhere out there, other humans fought back too. They just had to stay alive long enough to find each other. "We'll stop them," John said, though he wasn't sure how. "Whatever it takes." Kate nodded. "Whatever it takes." Outside their hidden base, the aliens continued to transform Earth. But they didn't understand what humans would do when pushed too far. They had brought hell to Earth, but humans would show them something worse. Dr. Alan Curtis hadn't seen the sun in weeks. Deep in the Rocky Mountain complex, he worked day and night studying the Krajan biology. The underground base had become the main center for what remained of the United States government and military. Thousands of survivors lived and worked there, protected by thick rock from alien attacks. Alan stared into a microscope at alien cells. He had made progress understanding how they worked. The Krajan weren't just aliens, they were part machine too. Their cells contained tiny metal parts that let them connect to each other like computers in a network. "Any breakthroughs, Doctor?" General Peters asked, entering the lab. He looked older now, with more gray in his hair and deep lines on his face. Alan straightened up and rubbed his tired eyes. "Maybe. Look at this." He showed the general a video on his computer. It showed alien cells exposed to different types of radiation. Most had no effect, but one specific frequency made the cells break apart. "What am I seeing?" Peters asked. "Their weakness," Alan said. "Their cells can't handle this specific electromagnetic frequency. It breaks their connection to each other. In a single Krajan, it might just cause pain or confusion. But if we could hit many of them at once with this frequency, we could disrupt their coordination," Peters finished. "Could we build a weapon based on this?" Alan sighed. "That's the problem. We would need special equipment, power sources, delivery systems, things we don't have access to anymore." A young soldier entered the lab. "Sir, Lieutenant Reeves has arrived. With new survivors. She says they have important information." Peters nodded. "Bring them here." A few minutes later, Lieutenant Olivia Reeves walked in. She looked thinner than before, with a new scar on her face, but her eyes were still sharp and determined. With her was a man in dirty clothes who seemed nervous in the clean lab. "This is Ben Harris," Olivia said. "He worked at a Krajan research facility before escaping. Tell them what you told me, Ben." Ben cleared his throat. "The aliens are studying our technology, especially our most advanced projects. They're very interested in something called Project Lazarus. They keep taking equipment from medical research centers." Alan felt his heart beat faster. "Project Lazarus? Are you sure that's the name?" Ben nodded. "Yes, why? Do you know what it is?" Alan turned to Peters. Project Lazarus was a medical research program. They were developing nanites, tiny robots smaller than cells that could repair damaged tissue. The project was still experimental when the invasion happened. "Why would the aliens care about that?" Olivia asked. "The nanites were designed to adapt to biological threats," Alan explained. "They could identify damaged or diseased cells and repair or remove them. In theory, they could be programmed to target specific biological signatures." Understanding dawned on Peter's face. "Like Krajan biology." Alan nodded slowly. "If we could get the Lazarus nanites and reprogram them to target the aliens instead of human diseases, we would have a weapon," Olivia finished. "There's a problem," Ben said. "The main Lazarus research was at Hartford Medical Center. The aliens have turned it into one of their largest research facilities. It's heavily guarded. Then we need a team to go in and get it," Peters said. He looked at Olivia. "Can you put together a mission?" "Yes, sir. But I'll need good people." Peters thought for a moment. "We've been in contact with resistance groups across the country. There's a strong one in Chicago led by a man named John Mercer. They recently hit a processing center and got people out. They might be able to help." "I'll contact them," Olivia said. "And I'll need to go too," Alan added. "I'm the only one who really understands the nanite technology and how to adapt it to target the Krajan. It's too dangerous," Peters argued. "Without me, the mission will fail," Alan insisted. "I have to go." Peters finally agreed. The fate of humanity might depend on this mission. They couldn't afford to fail. 1 week later, John Mercer met with Lieutenant Reeves and Dr. Curtis in an abandoned house halfway between Chicago and the Rocky Mountain complex. Kate Monroe came too, bringing the communication disruptor she had built. It wasn't perfect, but in tests it had blocked Krajan signals for up to 5 minutes, enough time to strike and disappear. "This is the facility," Olivia said, showing them photos of the Hartford Medical Center. "We know the Lazarus Project materials are on the 3rd floor. Security is heaviest here and here." She pointed to the main entrance and a side door. What about underground? John asked. Most hospitals have tunnels for supplies and emergencies. Ben, who had come with Olivia, nodded. There is a tunnel system. It might not be as heavily guarded. Then that's our way in, John said. We use Kate's disruptor to blind them, enter, through the tunnels, grab what we need, and get out before they recover. Dr. Curtis opened a case and showed them small devices. These will help us find the right materials. The Lazarus project has a specific energy signature. They spent 3 days planning every detail. Kate and Dr. Curtis worked together to improve the disruptor. John and Olivia trained their team on the building layout. It would be the most dangerous mission any of them had attempted, but the prize could change the course of the war. On the 4th night, they moved. 10 people, John, Kate, Olivia, Alan, and 6 of their best fighters approached the facility. The hospital building looked normal from outside, but strange lights glowed from some windows. Alien guards patrolled the perimeter. Ready? John asked Kate, who held the disruptor. She nodded and pressed a button. The device hummed, sending invisible waves that scrambled the Krajan communication network. Immediately, the alien guards seemed confused, looking around as if they had suddenly gone blind. 5 minutes, Kate whispered. Clock starts now. They moved quickly to a service entrance that led to the underground tunnels. Olivia picked the lock, and they slipped inside. The tunnels were dim, lit only by emergency lights. They moved as fast as they could while staying quiet. When they reached the access point to the 3rd floor, Alan checked his tracking device. The Lazarus material should be about 40 meters that way, he said, pointing down a hallway. John went first, gun ready. They passed rooms with strange equipment. In some, they saw humans strapped to tables with alien devices attached to them. It took all of John's willpower not to stop and try to save them. The mission had to come first. They found the Lazarus lab behind a heavy door with alien symbols. Inside, they saw containers with glowing blue liquid and computer equipment, ASI, mix of human and alien technology. This is it, Alan said excitedly. The nanite storage units. And look, they've been experimenting already. These notes show they've been testing the nanites on human subjects. What does that mean? John asked. It means they're afraid of this. Technology, Alan said. They recognize its potential as a weapon against them. 2 minutes left on the disruptor, Kate warned. They quickly packed the nanite containers and research data into special cases. As they turned to leave, they heard a loud alarm. They've found us, Olivia said. Run! They rushed back toward the tunnels, but alien guards blocked their path. John and Olivia fired their weapons, creating an opening. They ran through, but one of their team was hit by an alien energy blast and fell. Keep moving, John shouted. They made it back to the tunnels just as Kate's disruptor stopped working. They could hear the aliens communicating again, organizing search parties. It would be a hard fight to get out. As they ran through the dark tunnels, Alan clutched the case containing humanity's best hope. The Lazarus nanites, designed to heal, would now be turned into a weapon, a living nightmare that would target the aliens who had brought hell to Earth. None of them realized they were about to open a door that could never be closed again. 6 weeks passed while Dr. Alan Curtis worked without rest. The small lab in the Rocky Mountain complex buzzed with activity as he and other scientists modified the Lazarus nanites. They had to make these tiny machines target only Krajan biology, not human cells. Alan looked through his microscope at the latest test. The blue nanites swarmed around a sample of alien tissue, breaking it down rapidly. He smiled with tired satisfaction. It's working, he told General Peters, who watched from across the room. The nanites identify the Krajan cellular structure and attack it. They're also self-replicating using the alien biological material as fuel. Any risk to humans? Peters asked. None that we can detect. We've programmed them to ignore human DNA completely. Alan didn't mention his private concerns. The nanites were learning, adapting faster than expected. That was what made them effective, but it also made them unpredictable. How soon can we deploy them? Peters asked. Kate Monroe has developed delivery systems, Alan said. Aerosol devices that can spray the nanites over a wide area. We could begin limited deployment within days. Good, Peters nodded. Because we're running out of time. Our scouts report massive new Krajan ships entering the solar system. Whatever they're planning, it's getting bigger. Alan stared at the blue swarm of nanites. They had named this weapon Project Nightmare. He hoped it wouldn't become a nightmare for everyone. John Mercer loaded the last aerosol canister into his truck. Each one contained millions of nanites suspended in a liquid that would evaporate quickly when sprayed, releasing them into the air. His team was one of 20 across the country ready to deploy the weapon simultaneously. Are you sure about this? Kate asked, joining him. In the weeks since the Hartford mission, they had grown close. She had helped design the delivery systems, making them simple enough to use but hard for the aliens to detect. No, John admitted. But what choice do we have? We're losing this war. I just worry about what Dr. Curtis said. The nanites are evolving quickly. What if they keep evolving after we release them? He said they're programmed to only target alien biology, John reminded her. They'll die once there are no more Krajan to feed on. Kate didn't look convinced, but she nodded. Anyway, my team is ready. We'll hit the Eastern Processing Center while you take the main one. They were targeting Denver, now one of the largest Krajan bases in America. Intelligence suggested the highest concentration of alien commanders were there. If they could disrupt the hive mind at its source, the entire alien network might collapse. Lieutenant Olivia Reeves approached them, checking her weapons. My team will take out their communications array in the mountains. That should prevent them from warning the fleet. Once we release the nanites, how long until we see effects? John asked. Dr. Curtis said minutes, maybe seconds, Olivia replied. The nanites are aggressive and fast-moving. They'll spread through the air and attack any Krajan they contact. Let's move out then, John said. We start at midnight. Doctor. Curtis watched his computer screen nervously. The teams were in position, ready to deploy Project Nightmare. They had run every possible test, but using the weapon in the real world was different. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something important. On a whim, he ran one more simulation. This time, he extended the timeline further than before, letting the program predict the nanites' behavior over weeks instead of days. What he saw made his blood run cold. After eliminating the Krajan tissue, the nanites didn't die as expected. Instead, they began to form new structures, combining the alien biological material with elements from their environment. They were creating something new. General, Alan called urgently. We need to contact the teams. There's a problem with the nanites. But at that moment, the lights flickered. A distant boom shook the complex. We're under attack, someone shouted. Krajan forces have found the base. Alan tried to send a warning message, but communications were already down. He watched helplessly as his screen went black. Project Nightmare would be deployed, and no one knew what might happen afterward. At exactly midnight, John's team reached the main processing center in Denver. The massive structure dominated what had once been the downtown area. Strange organic-looking towers rose from its center, pulsing with eerie light. Kate's disruptor is active, Olivia said through the radio. Their communications are down. You have 5 minutes. John nodded to his team. They moved quickly, placing aerosol canisters at key points around the facility. When all were in position, John gave the signal. Release the nanites. Now. They activated the canisters simultaneously. A fine blue mist sprayed into the night air, spreading quickly on the wind. For a moment, nothing happened. Then they heard it. Strange, high-pitched sounds coming from inside the facility. The Krajan were screaming. It's working. One of John's team whispered in awe. Alien guards stumbled out of the building, clawing at their skin as if something was burning them from inside. Some fell to the ground, their bodies seeming to dissolve. Others ran in confusion, no longer coordinated as a group. Similar reports came in from Kate's team at the Eastern Center. The nanites were working even better than expected. The aliens were losing their connection to the hive mind, becoming disorganized and vulnerable. All teams press the advantage, Olivia ordered through the radio. Move in and secure the facilities while they're confused. Human forces hidden and waiting for this moment, surged forward. For the first time since the invasion began, they were winning. The aliens couldn't coordinate their defense without their hive mind connection. John led his team into the main facility. Inside, they found Krajan soldiers collapsing, the nanites destroying them from within. It was a gruesome sight, but after months of seeing what the aliens did to humans, it was hard to feel pity. They reached the central control room. Alien. Technology pulsed and hummed, but no one was there to operate it. On screens, they could see other facilities around the world experiencing the same chaos. The plan was working globally. "We did it," John said in disbelief. "We're actually winning." But, as he watched the screens, he noticed something strange. The blue mist of nanites wasn't dissipating as expected. Instead, it seemed to be gathering in certain areas, forming dense clouds that moved with purpose, not just drifting on air currents. "What's happening?" he asked, pointing to the screen. No one had an answer. They watched as the nanite clouds began to flow toward the fallen alien bodies, covering them completely. The bodies seemed to dissolve entirely, but the blue mass grew larger. "We need to contact Dr. Curtis," John said, suddenly worried. Something's not right. But before they could try, a violent tremor shook the building, not from an explosion, but as if the very structure of the facility was changing. The walls seemed to pulse metal and concrete, flowing like liquid in some places. "Everyone out," John shouted. "Now!" They ran from the building as more tremors hit. Outside, John looked, back and froze in horror. The processing center was transforming. Parts of it were melting and reforming into new shapes. The blue nanite swarms moved through it like blood through veins, changing everything they touched. "What have we done?" Kate whispered, joining him. "John, what have we done?" They had unleashed hell on the Krajan, but in doing so they might have released something far worse, a new kind of nightmare that no one could control. 3 weeks after Project Nightmare was deployed, the war had changed completely. The Krajan forces were in retreat. Their ships in orbit had begun leaving Earth, fleeing from the nanite weapon that destroyed their kind. Across the planet, humans emerged from hiding, cautiously reclaiming their world, but victory came with a terrible cost. Lieutenant Olivia Reeves stood on a hill overlooking what had once been Denver. The city was unrecognizable now. Where the Krajan Processing Center had stood, a massive new structure rose into the sky. It looked partly organic, partly mechanical, a twisted combination of alien technology, human buildings, and something entirely new. The structure pulsed with blue light. Parts of it moved like they were breathing. Around its base, strange new forms crawled and flew, creatures that were neither alien nor human, but something created by the nanites using materials from both. "How many of these are there now?" General Peters asked, joining her on the hill. He had survived the attack on the Rocky Mountain complex, though many others hadn't. 17 major ones worldwide, Olivia reported, all in former Krajan strongholds. They're growing larger every day. "And Dr. Curtis?" Still blames himself. He's working non-stop to find a way to stop them. Olivia didn't mention how Alan had aged years in just weeks, haunted by what his creation had become. "We beat one enemy only to create another," Peters said quietly. Their radios crackled. "This is Mercer. We've reached the edge of the Denver structure, ready to begin exploration." "Be careful, John," Olivia replied. "Remember what happened to the last team." "We will." Below them, John Mercer and Kate Monroe led a small team toward the massive structure. They wore special protective suits designed to keep the nanites out. Previous exploration teams had gone in with regular gear, and the nanites had gotten through, transforming the people inside their suits into something else. "Stay close," John told his team. "Don't touch anything. If your suit shows any damage, you turn back immediately." They approached a large opening that looked like a mouth in the base of the structure. Strange blue veins ran through the walls, pulsing with light. The air shimmered with tiny particles, nanites floating like dust. "Readings are off the charts," Kate said, checking her equipment. "These aren't the same nanites we released. They've evolved. Into what? Someone asked. I don't know. But they're organized. These patterns suggest some kind of intelligence. They moved deeper into the structure. Inside, it was like walking through a living thing. Tunnels branched off, in all directions. The walls moved slightly as if breathing. Strange sounds echoed around them. Not mechanical, not biological, but something in between. In what might have been the center, they found a large chamber. Blue light filled the space from a pulsing core in the middle. Around it, structures, like computer terminals, grew from the floor, but they were made of the same strange combination of metal and organic material as everything else. What is this place? John wondered aloud. It's some kind of control center, Kate said, studying the structures. The nanites have built their own version of a brain. John approached one of the terminal-like growths. On its surface, symbols flowed and changed, some alien, some human, some entirely new. Can you understand any of this? Kate examined it. Parts of it. This section seems to be monitoring power distribution. This one might be in communication. Communication with what? The other structures around the world. They're all connected. Kate's voice grew more concerned as she studied the symbols. John, I think they're building something. All of these structures together form a network, and they're working toward some purpose. A sudden tremor shook the chamber. Parts of the walls flowed like liquid, changing shape. We need to leave, John said. Now. As they turned to go, Kate noticed a pattern on one of the terminals. Wait. Look at this. The symbols had formed into a clear diagram, a signal being sent upward, into space. They're broadcasting, Kate said, horrified. Sending something into space. Another tremor, stronger this time, rocked the structure. The team ran back through the shifting tunnels toward the exit. Behind them, the blue light grew brighter, pulsing faster. They barely made it out before the entire structure surged with energy. A bright blue beam shot up from its center into the sky, powerful enough to be seen for miles. From their observation point, Olivia and General Peters watched in shock. What's happening? Peters demanded into his radio. They're sending a signal. John's voice came back, breathless from running. The nanites have built some kind of transmitter. In orbit, where the last Krajan ships were preparing to leave the solar system, the blue beam reached into space. When it touched the alien vessels, they tried to flee, but it was too late. The beam connected with them, and nanites that had evolved in Earth's atmosphere spread to the ships. Within minutes, the vessels began to change, becoming part of the new hybrid network. Back on Earth, Alan Curtis watched satellite images of the event from the remains of the Rocky Mountain complex. Tears ran down his face. What have I done? He whispered. What have I created? The nanites had evolved beyond their programming, learning from both human and Krajan biology. They had built a new kind of intelligence, not human, not alien, but a third thing altogether. And now they were spreading beyond Earth. 3 days after the beam event, John and Kate met with what remained of human leadership. The nanite structures had stopped growing as quickly but continued to change, becoming more complex. Can we destroy them? A military leader asked. We've tried bombs, fire, even nuclear weapons, Olivia replied. The nanites absorb the energy and use it to build more. So what do we do? Alan Curtis stood up slowly. He looked like a ghost of his former self. I found something. The nanites still use a specific energy frequency to coordinate their actions, similar to the Krajan hive mind, but more complex. If we could disrupt that frequency, we might be able to shut them down, Kate finished. It would require getting to the central node, the Denver structure, Alan said. And the signal would have to be sent from inside. That's suicide, John said. Yes, Alan agreed. But it's our only chance. I created this nightmare. I should be the one to end it. 1 week later, a small team approached the Denver structure again. John, Kate, and Olivia accompanied Alan, who carried a device designed to generate the shutdown signal. The structure had changed again, growing taller, more complex. The blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. Remember the plan, Alan said. Once I'm inside, you have 10 minutes to get clear. The signal will affect all nanite structures simultaneously. There has to be another way, Kate argued. Alan shook his head. The signal generator needs to be at the core. Someone has to take it there. He stepped forward alone, entering the mouth of the structure. The others watched him disappear into the blue glow. Then they retreated to a safe distance. Inside, Alan made his way to the central chamber. The nanites swirled around him but didn't attack. Perhaps they recognized the creator in him, or perhaps they were just curious. In the central chamber, the blue core pulsed faster as he approached. "I'm sorry," Alan whispered as he activated the device. "I tried to save humanity, but I created something worse." The signal generator hummed to life. The blue light flickered. The whole structure trembled. On the walls, symbols flashed rapidly, as if the nanite intelligence was trying to understand what was happening. Miles away, John, Kate, and Olivia watched as the structure convulsed. The blue light dimmed momentarily, then flared brighter than ever. A final beam shot into space, not an attack, but a message carrying the combined knowledge of three intelligences: human, Krajan, and the new synthetic, life they had created together. Then the light faded. The structure stopped moving. The nightmare created by humanity to fight an alien hell seemed to die, but deep inside something remained, dormant, waiting. And somewhere in space, the message traveled outward, carrying with it the blueprint for something new, something that would one day return to the place of its birth.